What's up everyone, Wesley Malott here, and today we are continuing our discussion with Phillip and Chloe Carroll, the filmmaking team behind the Honeymoon Phase, which releases tomorrow on VOD. And today we are going to talk to them about making the jump from short films to their first feature film. Let's check it out. Chloe, can you tell me a little bit about your journey as an actor, from going from shorts to being the lead in your first feature?
So features are so much cooler as an actor because you can really develop a character more. Like with a short film, you kind of just make this whole backstory in your head that sometimes isn't shown. And with a feature, like, you will explore that and you will see it, and you'll have to dig even deeper into a character and like why they do what they do and who they are as a person, which I really loved. And it was the first time I led a feature film where I was like, there's so much that can go into this character, whereas a lot of my shorts too are horror, where you don't really need that depth to a character. It's like, oh, you know, she's gonna be screaming when the monster comes, and you're like, great, you know, like, it's not as, you know, acting central. But with the feature film, like, you really got to explore that character, which was really cool.
Going from shorts to your first big feature, you're used to wearing so many hats. What was something that you weren't exactly used to whenever you had people that were dedicated to their departments?
So for me, one of the things I wasn't used to was working with a script supervisor. Ashley Gibson, who was the script supervisor of the Honeymoon Phase, was absolutely incredible to work with. Like, she was pretty much tied to the hip with me throughout the shoot, where we would be at monitor together. And anytime she noticed that anything was out of continuity, she would say something. If a line was delivered differently, she'd run it by me. Or even if I had a note in my mind that I was going to give the actors, but blanked on like the specifics of it, like, I knew I wanted to make an adjustment. Ashley, what was the last line? She would tell me what the last line was, and I could jump in and give a note really quick. And even just being next to me, like, she was almost like the therapist on set, where I could reference, like, you know, I don't know, what do you think about that? Like, just to get another person's creative input immediately. So for me, having a script supervisor is something that on all future productions, you know, I would absolutely want to have. You know, on a short film, unfortunately, half the time everybody's doing multiple roles, so it's a lot of times the first thing that's cut.
Chloe, you were the lead actress in this film, but also one of the producers. Can you talk a little bit about your experience of wearing multiple hats on a feature and how that also compared to doing it on your own short films?
We had a really good arrangement on the Honeymoon Phase where I was involved in all the pre-production, but on set, because we had multiple producers, I was able to drop a lot of my producing roles on set and just concentrate on the acting, with it being so important, especially in a thriller where it's literally two people for a lot of the time. Like, the acting just had to be great. So, you know, I just got a chance to focus on that, which was awesome, instead of like worrying about logisticals. And they also kind of kept me out of it in production so that I wasn't worried about it. So you couldn't see that I'd not slept all night because I was worried about production in my performance the next day, which was great. I mean, you can do that, and, you know, on the short films all the time, that's always the thing. But to be able to drop that on the feature was amazing, because I never once worried.
Yeah, they did that for me too, where they would put out fires before you even realized there was a fire. And I think that's what a great producing team does. They allow you to focus on the creative work without getting inundated with problems that aren't necessarily of the creative nature, but because we were producers, we would normally have to deal with them. But again, the producing team that we had kind of insulated from those issues from us on a day-to-day basis, so that we could focus on the creative aspects.
How did you find your locations for the feature?
As you know, as an indie filmmaker, locations are always difficult to come across. One of the good things about living in Philadelphia is that everybody's excited by the idea of making a movie. So for us, we had the great resource of the Philadelphia Film Office that helped us not only find these locations, but put us in touch with the owners. The Film Office has a location database on their website, and you can literally put in what you're looking for, and it'll feed out to you the information of where the location is, photos, who to contact, And if you, I believe if you check off the locations that you want, the film office will make you a list of like all the contacts and everything for that location. So for anybody watching, if you're looking for locations, your local film office is a great resource for helping with that. The main location in the film, this house that we had, we actually found on Airbnb. And we reached out to the owners through Airbnb. They thought it was really cool that we were trying to make a movie, and were willing to work with us on it.
I think that this next question could be really important for any short filmmakers looking to make that next jump to making their first feature. What made you both realize that you were ready for that jump?
I'll be honest, I mean, I'm just one person who just made their first feature, so this is completely my biased opinion, but I don't know if anybody's ever feels ready for making their first feature. I just felt like it's the next step, you know, like I wanted to be a filmmaker ever since I was a kid. And I went to the film program at Temple University. We make short films there. The final thing you do is a thesis film, which I did. And it just seemed like, okay, that's the next step. You know, I did a bunch of shorts and now I want to stretch my legs and do a feature and learn, you know, how to tell a long-form story that keeps people entertained and hopefully moves them emotionally.
Before the honeymoon phase, I was still making shorts, and I was much earlier in like my filmmaking experience than Phil was, and I loved making shorts. And Phil didn't want to make shorts anymore. He's like, I want to make the feature film, because he had this story that he wanted to explore and he was passionate about it.
I liked what you said about following your passions with that, because I think that there's this misconception today that making a feature film is the next step. And I know I even myself said it, where I was like, oh, I felt like it was the next step. But really it comes down to what form of media will help you tell the story that you want to tell. So like today, YouTube is so big, and you know, there's Quibi now, and there's lots of short form storytelling that has the quality and creativity of a feature film, or television now, like you're breaking a feature film into small episodes. I don't think that it necessarily has to be looked at anymore, where it's like, okay, this is like the career trajectory. You start at shorts and then you graduate to features. I think if you're good at shorts and you love doing shorts, there's a market now for short form storytelling. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. For me, it was just this story of the honeymoon phase. I couldn't let it go. It was something I wanted to do, and it had to be told in a feature-length format. And having done a bunch of short films, there was something really exciting about jumping into a new art form. You know, feature-length storytelling is different than short storytelling. You have to keep somebody's attention for an hour and a half. Where on a short, you have to grab somebody's attention really quick and hold it for a few short minutes, which is a huge challenge in its own right. I mean, it's so many, like I've made so many shorts and none of them have gone viral. Most of them, you know, have a couple hundred views, couple thousand views, because the kind of stories that I want to tell are more drama character based as opposed to conceptual stories. Whereas YouTube, you know, there's so many cool horror shorts, action shorts, comedy bits, and things like that. But the honeymoon phase didn't fit in that, so it had to be a feature. In terms of making the jump from shorts to features, you're never really ready for it. It's just if the story that you want to tell takes that form, then you know you should go for it, and you'll find a way to tell that story one way or another.
What kind of advice would both of you give to any filmmakers that are looking to make that leap from short films to feature films?
If you're thinking about making your first feature film, first ask yourself, do you really want to do this? Because it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money, put strain on your relationships if you're working with your spouse. And even if you're not going to see them for a while. It's a lot of work. But if the answer is yes, then go do it. You know, like don't let anything stop you. Don't let budget stop you. Nothing. We were lucky enough to have a small budget for the movie to where we were able to bring on the crew, bring on people like Francois, and you know, bring our vision to life. But even if we didn't, we had originally planned for this movie to be a no-budget feature. We knew we could set it in one house, have limited amount of actors, and tell the story. We were just lucky enough to come across some people that believed in the movie that allowed us to raise the production value of it and tell the story properly. But even if we didn't, we would have went through with it. Like I said earlier, we had the Kickstarter video plan that we were gonna do. If you're gonna do it, just do it. Do a small thing every day that will bring you closer to that goal, and have fun doing it, because filmmaking's a journey and a blessing when you're able to do it. So no matter what budget level you're on, you're still living the dream. You're making a movie. People have iPhones now with better cameras than the camera that I shot my first short film on. You don't have to be limited by the technology. There's films in Sundance that are shot on iPhones. One of the things as a first-time filmmaker that I think I had on my side was naivety, where it's like I didn't know how hard it would be. And I think that as a filmmaker, you have to have this like perfect blend of like delusion meets skill meets, luck. And if you can bring all those together, you'll be able to pull it off. So you have to like want it so bad that you're delusional about it, but still have the skill set to bring it to life. And I think that's what's great about, if you do want to be a feature filmmaker, I think it's great cutting your chops doing short films, because you learn about editing, you learn how to keep somebody's attention, you learn all the different facets of making a movie, because a lot of times you're doing it yourself. And I think that's really great, because when you get to do a feature, it gives you an awareness of what everybody does on set, so that okay, I actually do have to wait 10 minutes for hair and makeup, because if we want the characters to look good, they need the time to craft that. Or like with sound, if you didn't cut your own sound before, you wouldn't know that the plane going overhead is not going to be able to be cut out. You just tell them, no, we're rolling anyway. So I think making shorts is a great way to practice for making a feature, if features are what your goal is. I guess my other biggest piece of advice would just don't wait till you have the resources to make a feature. Just make a movie, make a short. And while you're doing that, plan for that feature, so that when that luck meets delusion, you'll be ready, because you'll have the skill.
Where can we watch The Honeymoon Phase?
So The Honeymoon Phase will be available on August 21st through Dark Sky Films. It will be on Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video, Google Play, and all the major VOD services, video on demand services. So if you're interested in checking it out, we'd love to hear what you think of the film. It'll be available to buy and rent August 21st. So hit us up on Twitter, with your thoughts if you check it out. We're at Who You Married To. If you're interested in learning more about how the film was made, on the Apple TV version of the movie, we have all the behind the scenes for you to check out. So we have a couple documentaries on there that show the making of the movie. We have a VFX breakdown that goes through how the VFX were created, through basically clean plates all the way through. There's bloopers featuring Chloe. And like 20 minutes of deleted scenes, including an alternate ending and opening. So there's a lot of cool stuff on there. And like I said, if you do check it out, please hit us up on Twitter. We'd love to hear what you think of the movie.
And that is going to do it for today's episode. The Honeymoon Phase comes out tomorrow on VOD, so links to the pre-order are in the description below. The full 2-hour interview with Phil and Chloe is available to our Patreon supporters, so if you're interested in checking out the interview and or want to support our channel, link to our Patreon is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below, and we'll see you next week, where we talk to Phil and Chloe some more about the distribution process for their first feature film.